but there's not another creature on the face of the earth that has any use for this stuff. And here we are at the top of the intellectual food chain, and yet look how we grovel over this useless substance. It's the stuff we're after, folks. If all these people that have caused this wealth disparity in America, all these politicians and the money printing class, and all their cohorts and minions that go along, these establishmentarians, wittingly and unwittingly, that have gone along with this stuff, and all these people that have amassed great fortunes beyond our imagination, when you start getting into the billions, it's ridiculous. So all this wealth is concentrated in essentially this paper currency because, of course, even if it's digital, it'll be displayed in dollars, right? So if it's digitally $50 billion, let's say, that's dollars, that's printed dollars. So if Mark Zuckerberg wants to cash in his fortune, he can go to the Federal Reserve and say, I want these 50 billion digital dollars in cash, U.S. Federal Reserve note dollars. So it's very fair to say it represents concentrated wealth in whatever form it is. And it could be something like gold or silver or oil, anything that is very fungible. It's a fungible asset which is easily traded. So it's as good as gold, as they say. It's as good as money. And so if these people that have all this wealth, that have stolen all this wealth, amassed these massive fortunes, if they had to cash it in and they had to turn that into real assets, like automobiles and real estate and, let's say, ships and airplanes and jewelry, whatever it was, you can imagine what an ordeal that would be for them. It's very nice and neat and handy for these people to just hoard this concentrated wealth. It really is the God of this world, just like Jesus explained. All these things I'm teaching about and talking about, they go back thousands of years, this teaching of understanding. We have to really step back and really make a concerted, deliberate, and intentional effort to see through God's eyes this whole subject about money, to really get to the bottom of it. I like to joke with people. I'll go to a store and I'll say, if I had my way, everybody would have their own government-approved money printing press at home. And they laugh. They think that's cute and funny. But, if they really thought about it, they'd realize that this is a possibility. And I'm not kidding. I'm serious. And I got this another theory that if we had a bowl of money at in the center of every town, and everybody that needed money for whatever reason, they could go there and get it, drink freely from the fountain. Let's say God supplied that money. So you'd say, well, how would that work? It would cause inflation. No. It would negate the game, okay? It would expose immediately what a farce, what a charade, what a scheme, what a scam this whole thing is. What great black magic this is, what great power and fraud and the ability to corrupt this substance has. It's incredible, and it's just, these people have the right to print this currency, this money, that is all powerful in this world. Imagine, it's abhorrent to God, like it's written. The things that are highly valued among men are detestable in the sight of God. If we really want to get it together, and we really want to find wisdom, and we want to attain true happiness, we want to have peace on earth, we want that for our children and our children's children. I want it for you and you want it for me, then we've really got to get to this bottom of this thing. And the only way we're going to do it is to get to the bottom of the money issue, because that's how we're being controlled and manipulated. What these people do, they artificially induce mass hysteria, mass fear, mass neurosis, bordering on psychosis, and it's in everybody, and you can see it in the way people drive. For crying out loud, if you're going down the highway and you're not following quite as close to the car in front of you as the guy behind you wants you to, he'll just show you how to drive. I've been driving now for over 40 years, and I've never hurt anybody in that time, thank God. I'm a careful driver. I don't want to hurt anybody, so that's a big part of why I haven't hurt anybody. And not to say that it couldn't have happened, because things do happen. I've literally stopped with a kid once, wrapped around my hood after he did the proverbial, made the proverbial mistake of chasing after his ball and ran out into the street. Ball bounced past my car. Next thing I know, there's a kid in front of my car. Thankfully, I was going at a very slow rate of speed, just making a left turn, and I stopped, but literally, the kid was wrapped over my hood, but I didn't hit him. So it was nothing but a small miracle that I thank God for. But it was traumatic, and it takes an incident like that sometimes to really make you realize how easy it would be to hurt somebody. But the point I'm trying to make is that I don't want to hurt anybody, okay? And I hope you don't want to hurt anybody either. We're not supposed to want to hurt each other in any way. And, driving is just one symptom, I think, of the neurosis, because I do see it. I see people are uptight. They're stressed out. These are all symptoms of this neurosis that has been spread. And how can it not be spread? How can we all not be a little bit nuts from this thing? So I'm not condemning anybody that's neurotic or psychotic out there, because I fully understand. What I want to prevent is that getting the better of me. And the way I do that is I get on my knees and I pray to God. I pray to God wherever I am. I'm standing, sitting, wherever it is. You can just pray and say, God, help me to maintain a pure heart so that I can think good thoughts about everybody. And I can just put everything at your feet and say, God, I can pray for people. I can pray for the situation. To me, it's a miracle that we all cope as well as we do. It really is. Because this is really tough. I mean, life is hard enough. We've got a lot of things to worry about. We worry about the safety of our children. We worry about diseases and death. We worry about natural disasters maybe. We worry about all sorts of accidents that could potentially befall us or our children. We've got a lot on our plates just being human and contending with the natural forces of being human. But no, we've got to, the biggest thorn in our side has to be these clowns, this miserable gaggle of murderous thugs. And how do they get away with it? I'll tell you how. Because they are meaner. They are willing to murder to get their way. These are contemptible, spoiled brats who need to be trained. We need to all pick up the cross of being like Illuminati whisperers, elitist whisperers, hypocrite whisperers, and say, no, we're your boss because you obviously have no moral compass. You don't value human life, okay? You are a sick and twisted human being, and you need help. You need to put in an ethics rehabilitation center, perhaps. I don't want to use the term re-education because that's kind of a Nazi term, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, for retraining people that didn't go along with this, hyper-liberal, communistic, socialistic program of, the Hitler types of the world that want to cram it down your throat. Either it's my way or it's, you die, basically is it. And I've got no regard, no respect for any of these people. And last week I was talking about current events in the world, and I forgot to touch on this Kenyan incident where these radical factions, let's say, under the pretense of being Muslims, let's say, because I'm sure any decent Muslim out there is offended at the idea of these people calling themselves Muslims that would dare do what they do. And they went into this school and they just pulled anybody aside and they said, listen, are you a Muslim or are you a Christian? What are you? And anyone that professed Christianity was shot dead in cold blood on the spot, okay? And this to me is the best case for everybody packing heat I can think of. Everybody has a right to defend themselves and come to the defense of innocence. And these people are obviously innocent. They're being gunned down in cold murder just for not shrinking away from the truth. I mean, hell, even Jesus' most close disciple, Peter, who was ready to protect him to the death at one point by, attacking the guard of the priest and cutting his ear off before the crucifixion. Even Peter denied Jesus 3 times before, as Jesus predicted. But here these people stood up. Can you imagine? And they knew they were probably going to get gunned down, shot dead for saying, no, I'm a Christian. I love Jesus. Okay? And these people got killed for their beliefs. This is beyond reprehensible. This is beyond abominable. This is unspeakable horror tragedy. This is it's the exemplification of the spirit of Satan that would do these things. This ISIS group, all these people that would hurt you because of what your beliefs are just There aren't words to describe this kind of evil. I mean, there are literally special places in hell, in Dante's Inferno, for these kind of people. And that's where they're all going. So it's the kind of thing where it's almost too hard to talk about, and that's probably the best reason why I missed it last time, is because I was still traumatized from the whole thing, like so many others. It's like this plane crashing. This guy purportedly, wasn't good enough that he just wanted to kill himself. He was feeling suicidal. But he had to take the whole plane down with him and crashed it into the French Alps, killing 149 people, 150 including himself. So just taking his own life wasn't good enough, but he had that satanic mean streak where he had to take them all down. And there's some conjecture that this fellow was depressed and he was on medication of some sort, which might have amounted to one of these SSRI drugs, these selective serotonin reuptake inhibiting drugs. So the guy was depressed. He was having girlfriend troubles. He was scared because if he got too sick in the head, he knew he was going to lose his job. And there's the whole money-based control over us that you see. You see, so his big fear was being destroyed financially. You understand why money is at the root of all the evil, all of it. All these groups like ISIS or this Al-Shabaab over there in Africa, Kenya, wherever the hell they're stationed, it's really about these groups not wanting to be subjugated by another group. You understand? If we said, let's have a discussion, ISIS, what's your beef? Stop hating on Christians. We've had it, so we have a come to Jesus meeting with these groups. We have a discussion. Let's talk about this like rational, mature adults, okay? And get to the bottom of why you hate Christians. And are you conflating Christianity with Catholicism? Because the two are not one. Ask any Irishman, okay? I lived in Ireland. I know what it's like over there. I know the animosity the Catholics have with Christians. I went to a Catholic school there where they beat the children, okay? And my dad almost kicked the headmaster's ass for having let the teacher beat me with a stick, okay? And I was afraid at 10 years old. I didn't even want to tell my parents what had been happening because I thought I was a bad kid, okay? So, I've seen it firsthand. I know what it's like over there, and it's bad. So don't tell me that all Christians are haters of Muhammad or Muslims or anything else. They're not. They respect anybody that tries to be pious and upright, okay, because that's what religion's supposed to be. It's been turned into a bad thing. It's been turned into a pejorative by these same loving masters at the top. This literally handful. That's all it takes. But if you control the money printing presses, you could control the whole world. That's how these people do it. That's how they get away with it. Now, JFK, he was going to take away their power. He was going to abolish the Federal Reserve Bank. You've got to understand what's going on here. You see where it got JFK. He knew that if he could issue the American people sound currency like he did with silver notes, he knew what would happen. He knew it would lift America out of poverty, and America could set a shining light example for the rest of the world of how to do it, how to attain sound currency and lift the population out of poverty. But that's one thing, this gaggle of merciless thugs that are running roughshod over humanity for thousands of years, they've been pulling this on us. Okay, and it's time these people be exposed. It's time they be challenged, and it's time we seize their assets, the money printing presses. Okay, he knew, because if you end poverty, you want to know what else you end? Crime virtually disappears overnight because the vast majority of crime is committed because of financial desperation. And you're not going to be able to enlist people into dubious warfare, okay? If everybody is secure and free and prosperous, and the two are about the same, being free and liberated and being secure, one and the same. So this idea that you can't trade prosperity, or you can't trade security for freedom, or you can't trade freedom for security, you'll never have both, is actually true. But you see, it's mixed up, but actually the two are one and the same, because security and freedom are the same thing. If you feel secure, then you feel free. I mean, we could talk about security like, well, the security of my house, well, I got a dog, I got an alarm, I got cameras, my car, I got an alarm, and whatever. And you know, for self-security, I got this gun, so yeah, I'm feeling secure. But we've got to go beyond that and look at security in the big picture. Okay, and the big picture is that you want to feel like you're not beholden from birth, like we all are. Okay, and that's through this thing they call, it's very innocently called, oh, it's a cost of living. You understand, right? So we're trained from birth, because our parents are trained from birth. They all believe this. This is common sense. This is axiomatic. This is a no-brainer.